Getting over it is a game. Not a fun game, a difficult game. In the process of me being unable to sleep because I have things left undone in this world, my brain reminded me of another game I never finished. What? Getting Over It with Bennet Foddy, that frustrating rage game that was popular when it came out because of YouTubers reacting to how frustrating it was. That's a dumb idea. What a dumb idea. You're so dumb. In fact, I'm gonna play it just to prove how dumb of an idea that is, brain. You're going to feel so stupid. Let's get this out of the way first. Nobody forced me to play this. I am a firm believer that if you're putting yourself through a situation knowing well in advance that it'll be a frustrating one, then you have absolutely no right to complain. That being said, I do have some points to make, so kindly get out of my video, hypothetical viewer. You're making a mess on the floor. And on the ceiling too, for some reason. I gave myself 10 hours to complete this, and if I didn't finish it by then, I'd give up. But the good news is I managed to climb all the way to the top. Yay! I also had almost 6 hours of footage to edit. Yay! I'll put the link to that video in the description if you want to hear me cry and complain for 40 minutes. I'm not sure why you'd want to watch that, but it's there. Or you can, sit back, stay here, enjoy watching me retrospect on a game that nobody cares about anymore. That's productive too. Getting Over It is hard to describe to someone who's never seen it, mainly because it's something you have to see to believe. I imagine the conversation would usually go something like this. So, you're a dude in a cauldron. Okay. And you have a hammer. Okay, I'm with you so far. Your job is to climb a mountain. Okay. My first question is how? Well, with the hammer, of course. Isn't he in a cauldron? Now you're getting it. He needs the hammer to climb the mountain because he can't use his legs. Okay, then why is he in a cauldron? Stop worrying about the cauldron! So yeah, you're in a cauldron. You're also submerged in some kind of liquid, possibly sweat, and the only objective of the game is to climb over a mountain made of various props stacked on top of each other, using nothing but your trusty hammer and your massive muscles to get over it. What's the it in getting over it? Nobody knows. Oh, and there's also commentary from game developer and possible psychopath Bennet Foddy. This is turned on by default, which is a little unusual. It would be like going to a movie theater and having the director comments on throughout your first viewing. Wouldn't that mess with the entire experience of the movie? I had to turn this off while I played. Turns out it's very distracting trying to listen to someone's philosophical dilemma while you're balancing a hammer on the grill. I'll go ahead and address the elephant in the room for a moment. The controls. I have never experienced controls this infuriating in any video game ever, period. It sounds simple on paper. You use the mouse to move the hammer, you move the hammer to climb over things, and you climb over things to reach the top. Easier said than done. Yeah, that does sound simple. What's the big deal, you ask? Well, first of all, I had to fiddle with the mouse sensitivity until I found that sweet spot where the hammer does react, but doesn't have a seizure every time my mouse detects that I just had a heartbeat. Even then, that only made the game barely playable. The problem is, the hammer just straight up doesn't cooperate with you at times. On more than one occasion, I dragged the mouse around so as to make an arc, but it wouldn't register that. Instead, the game went whoop and makes a beeline to where my cursor was currently, which sends the hammer in that direction, and it always flings my character off the cliff, always. Always. Was this an intentional feature? That's a whole new level of evil, Bennet Foddy. I can't help but wonder if this can be classified as evidence for attempted assault. Speaking of falling off cliffs, let's talk about the starting over aspect of the game. This is another ruthless game that doesn't give you an easy way out. It's climb over the obstacles or give up. Aw, you don't have to play the game if you don't want to, little boy. Why don't you get back down to the sandbox area and play an easier game instead? Maybe come back when you're not such a crybaby, you little shit. Once upon a time, back in the olden days of video games, there existed a life system, and that gave you a few attempts before forcing you to start from scratch. Not in this one. At any point in the game, you're at a very real danger of losing all of your progress and be forced to climb from the base of the mountain. A feeling I like to describe as, oh crap, here comes the music again. Which brings me to my next point, the message in the commentary left by Bennet Foddy. Like I previously mentioned, I didn't have this on during my playthrough, so I went ahead and listened to it on YouTube, and boy oh boy do I have things to say about this. It starts off a little presumptuous, basically the equivalent of someone telling you to get ready for a frustrating experience, and then immediately calls off the game's main inspiration, sexy hiking, which is neither sexy nor is it about hiking, but I digress. It then becomes a little more philosophical, discussing the principles about content creation in this day and age. A very interesting argument is made about the sheer volume of content being produced. Is there even a point to putting in the effort in making high quality content if people aren't going to even find it in the pile of all the other stuff? As frustrating as the game is, we never really see the months of work Bennet Foddy put into developing this, and that goes for any artful creation, really. That stayed with me. Especially because the first time I heard that, my hammer decided to headbutt the wall, which, of course, sent me flying in the wrong direction. This was the point where I turned off the commentary. I can't help it if his voice startles me. It comes on without warning at crucial moments in the game. However, after hearing the whole thing, I felt really bad for turning it off, mainly because it gets really poetic and heartfelt as the game goes. You can really tell the man put his heart and soul into this game. His black, evil, corrupted heart. I highly recommend you give it a hearing if you're interested in game design, but I don't recommend going through the game for this. Rather, if you're into poems and heartful messages, give the game a go. Yes, I am actually recommending the game. I played it again with the commentary on and felt much better about the whole experience. I then realized I had gotten an achievement for climbing it. Yes, you get achievements for this game. One for climbing the mountain once, one for climbing it twice, and one for climbing it 50 times! Oh good lord, no, leave me alone! I cannot play this that many more times. I have something that resembles a life. In sum, the ruthless controls that make it a rage game, the part of the commentary that calls off YouTube Let's Players, the snake that sends you all the way to the beginning, all of this leads me to believe this is a game that was meant to be watched and reacted to, not played. I guess the only other thing I could add is that I don't buy into the argument that obstacles should be unyielding and that video games should be harder. Video games are meant to be fun, right? That's the whole point. Did that change? When? This is exactly what happens if you want a video game purely for the challenge, ignoring all of the fun. Now if you'll excuse me, I have an achievement to get.
I'm daffy as a goon on a day in June. Might be midnight, could be noon. Crazy as a loon, or will be soon, if my baby don't hurry home. Oh, whoopsie-doodle, I'm off my noodle, my baby is gone away. I'm running around in a spin.